Welcome to another one of these Sunday evening lives that I've got into the habit of doing. Those of you who follow me will know that usually I do one live a month with a Ukrainian teacher of English. And last week I did a live with Tatiana, but I'm adding an extra live in this month because I finally managed to pin down a guy I've been wanting to talk to for a long time. We've been trying to arrange a time to talk, but he's often out on the road and he's a hard man to get hold of. So the fact I've managed to get hold of him today is a really good thing. I should also add that it's Remembrance Sunday today here in London, where, well, all across the UK, where we remember those who served and paid the ultimate sacrifice during the First and Second World Wars. I was walking with my son earlier through London, and we were passing by Westminster and Big Ben right at 11 o'clock, which is when they have the minute silence, and King Charles and various political leaders lay wreaths at the cenotaph up on Whitehall. And that was very, very moving to be in a large crowd of people being very quiet. But at the same time, I still have this kind of problem with the whole way we think about Remembrance Day, because the whole idea of Remembrance Day is supposed to be never again. And yet, at the moment, Russia continues to wage its genocidal war on Ukraine. Russia carries out terror attacks on Ukraine every day, kills Ukrainian civilians every day. And so far, the rest of Europe isn't doing enough to stop Russia from waging this war. So while we mouth these platitudes about never again, Ukrainians don't have the option of never again. Ukrainians have here and now, and having to deal with the war that Russia's brought to them. So the guy I'm going to... one more thing I should say is those of you who don't necessarily follow the news from Ukraine, over the last few days there have been these huge attacks on the Ukrainian power grid as Russia yet again tries to use darkness and power cuts as a way of trying to demoralize Ukrainian civilians, a way of trying to make Ukrainian cities unlivable. And there's also the kind of town of Pokrovsk in the Donbass Oblast, which Russia's been trying to take for the last year. Before Russia's full-scale invasion, it was a town or a city of 60,000 people, and at least 120,000 Russians have been killed or injured trying to take Pokrovsk. It looks as though maybe Pokrovsk may fall sooner or later, which I'm sure Putin will spin as a victory to his kind of media machines back home, and possibly plenty in the Russian information space will celebrate in some capacity. I think it's not great to see another Ukrainian city fall, but it's not the disaster that people maybe think it might be. And if it had fallen a year ago, it would have been bad. I think if it falls now, it's a city that's allowed Ukraine to carry out a great war of attrition on Russian forces. And, we talk about never again and we talk about peace. The only way Ukraine gets peace is by taking out the invading forces that are coming into Ukraine and dealing with them that way. So I'm going to be talking today to a British guy who I've never actually met face to face, but we communicate a fair bit online. He's a guy called Mark Hodgkins, and he's based in Odesa, and he does a lot of work for Ukrainian civil society, for Ukrainian volunteers. He's in and out of Kherson quite a lot. Kherson is basically right on the front line. Some of you may have seen Angelina Jolie visiting there this week very bravely. Whilst most celebrities fly into the relatively safe cities of Lviv or Kiev, Angelina Jolie had the balls to go to Kherson, and I think it speaks volumes for her. So, Mark, I think you're there. Do you want to just ask to join? I think you've got to press that little live camera thing, the plus camera thing at the bottom. And once I see you, I'll add you and then we'll get going. Thanks to everyone for joining, by the way, and for your interest in these talks. Right, I think we have action. Maybe, maybe not. Let me try again. Yeah, I think so.
Hello,
Hey,
hello, hello. You see
hello,
me?
mate. I can. How are you?
Awesome. I'm not too bad, thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you at the moment, Mark? Are you in
Well,
Odessa?
no, at the moment I'm not in Odessa. Right now I'm currently in Kyiv, and I'm under candlelight because we've lost power in this part of
Okay.
Kyiv. Thankfully got some steady internet connection, and I'm on a power bank right now on my phone. So yeah, we lost power about 30 minutes ago. We're having scheduled regular power outages twice a day at the moment because of the attacks on the infrastructure, as you say.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm really glad you can make it. And,
Oh, thank you.
you know, I know it's not under ideal circumstances and stuff.
My apologies that it's taken me so long to get on a live with you. Like, I think with where I am, it's going to be difficult to find the perfect scenario. But I'm in Kyiv for about a month now, so I've got some good time. So yeah, I thought I'd give you a message and get on the live. Why not?
It's great. It's really good to have you with us.
Oh, thank you, and happy Remembrance Sunday, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird. I was watching Zach Polanski, the new Green Party guy, and he was wearing
Hmm.
his white poppy for peace. And I was having this chat online earlier about what's the Green Party's attitude to Ukraine? Like, how does Ukraine get peace? And I was basically told through diplomacy and disarmament. And it's like,
Yeah.
because that's going to work really well. Um, there's this weird thing in the UK still, I guess all over Europe, of people who don't understand that you don't get peace just by wearing white poppies and being kind to people.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. I mean, look at the drones that are heading now into Schengen areas.
Yeah,
There's been issues in Denmark. I believe Berlin airport had some issues, and Poland had
yeah,
like 19 drones the other month penetrate, trying to fly to Warsaw.
yeah,
I don't believe they were carrying any warheads, but it's like it's a provocation.
yeah,
The only way to combat Putin and this Russian terrorist state at this point is to arm Ukraine to the teeth,
yeah.
which all our governments could have done a long time ago. I mean, stuff's being done, but not enough's being done, and that's why Ukraine is still coming under daily attacks.
Yeah. No, I know. One of my Ukrainian students told me recently that they have this expression about if you want peace, make sure you carry a big sword.
Yeah.
And big swords cost money, and it's big swords need to be forged and sharpened and all of that.
Yeah. When I'm down in Kherson, Kherson the other week, just before Angelina Jolie's visit, they got shelled massively, more than I've ever experienced when I've been there. I've seen it on the news, and just watching all the shells land into the building was crazy. I mean, my main source of volunteer work is with Food for Life, based in
Okay,
Odessa. Food for Life is a charity that's actually run by Harry Krishnas.
okay,
They tend to separate the religion from the charity work. But we also have Food for Life in Kherson, and these guys are driving around feeding people whilst coming under shelling attack. And I've been there with them plenty of times myself. And sometimes a shell's just landing just down the street from us. So it's quite risky, and it does get quite scary. And you see people suffering in places like Kherson, and you think more could be done, more air defense could be provided as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I mean, I just saw today that Germany has finally sent over 3 Patriots, and it's
Oh,
it's
that's
like
good.
months and months after saying that this was going to happen. And of course, it's a good thing that it's happening, but it's happening
Hmm.
slowly. And it's funny watching your videos, because I've seen those videos of you with the explosions nearby, and you kind of going, "Fucking hell, that was close." And and I mean, I remember when I was in Kiev the first time, and just the explosions overhead and everything. And at the
Hmm.
moment, it's bonfire night weekend here in London. So like yesterday and tonight, I've got all these bloody explosions going off. in the
Yeah.
background. So if viewers hear explosions, we'll let you know whether it's my end or Mark's end, you know.
Absolutely. You know, a funny story actually. I was back in the UK for bonfire night like last year, and I completely forgot about it. And you sort of get like minor PTSD with this stuff. So when I got
Yeah,
back for bonfire night, the fireworks were going off, and I was like, "Bloody hell!" I was thinking, "Oh no, I'm back in the UK," because you sort of puts your mind back to being over here.
yeah.
Yeah. So my mum as well. We used the Homes for Ukraine scheme, and we're hosting a friend of mine called Ksenia from Odessa. She's in
Okay.
the chat there now, Julie.
Hey,
I was checking in to say, oh, make sure Ksenia's okay. Warn her about bonfire night because I thought I've not told her about bonfire
yeah,
night. Like,
yeah. No, it's funny because I mean we also hosted someone called Ksenia. Don't know if
hmm
she's watching or not. And she had a little kid, Sasha, and they were from Kharkiv. And every time police helicopters used to come over our house, he used to get very jumpy to begin with
hmm
because of all the helicopters he'd seen coming in over Kharkiv on February 24th, you know.
hmm
And yeah, it's a very strange feeling. So I haven't actually got any particular questions. Usually when I do the Ukrainian lives, I kind of have a little list of questions I'm going to work through. But I do
hmm
have a few things in my head I'd like to just talk through with you, if that's all right,
Sure,
Mark.
I'm always happy to waffle.
Yeah.
So,
So, shall we sort of start by going back and just tell us a bit about yourself and who you are and where you grew up and
well, okay, my name's Mark. Originally born and bred Manchester, England. However, before I started coming to Ukraine, I was living in Belfast in Northern Ireland since 2017. And I used to work for BT. Got made redundant from BT, and I started coming over to Ukraine in January 2023. And as I first ended up in Lviv, like most people do, ended up going down to Odessa. Then from March that year into April, I hooked up with Food for Life and started doing the volunteer distribution, which is Monday to Friday in Odessa. We feed internally displaced refugees at the humanitarian headquarters as well. And it just all started spiraling because when I started filming it for my Instagram and TikTok, the guys at Food for Life were like, "Hey, do you want to come to Kherson with us?" And then when I saw what I saw in Kherson, it just drove me to think, this is something that I really want to do now. Like, there's war in Europe again.
what
I've not
what what
exactly got a full-time job to go back to in the UK. So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
what was your connection with Ukraine in the first place? I mean, what made you decide to come?
Honestly, curiosity. It started as a 2-day trip in January 2023 to Lviv just to see what it was like and, see how people were getting on. I then met.
And you'd never been to Ukraine, and you didn't have any like Ukrainian
The only
friends, or
time I'd been to Ukraine was in Borispil Airport on the left bank of Kyiv, and I was transiting. I was flying from London to Beijing with Ukrainian International Airlines, and it was 2015, and I just changed planes in Kyiv. So not really. No, I hadn't been to Ukraine before, but I started to make friends. A really good friend as well called Julia in Lviv, who we also hosted in the UK on the Homes for Ukraine scheme. Got to know her pretty well. We became good friends. Became friends with her and her partner. Met other people in Lviv, as you know, like Anastasia, who you've had on your live before.
yeah,
And it's I started going to like a volunteer kitchen. You might know a guy called, if you watch him, Richard. Hello, Richard Woodruff. From London, similar area like yourself. He's doing a lot to help Ukraine. Met him. Met a bunch of other volunteers, but to me, what really stuck was the children I've seen suffering. Like, that's the reason I keep coming back, and it's just it's like an avalanche snowballing down the mountain at that point.
yeah, yeah. And so, 2023, you moved to Odessa.
2023, moved to Odessa. I would say I've spent about 70 to 80% of my time in Odessa. Obviously, as you know, in and out of Kherson, Mykolaiv. I've been to Slavyansk and Kramatorsk as well. Don't know if you saw in the news, but Slavyansk and Kramatorsk were like the last frontiers before the Eastern Front where the trains were running to.
Yeah.
The trains are no longer running to Slavyansk or Kramatorsk because of the increased attacks on the train infrastructure here. Spent a little bit of time, some visits to Kyiv, Lviv, been to like Carpathian Mountains for a nice break. There's an English camp I've been to there a couple of times to help kids with their English as well. Like, yeah. So, yeah, I'm not always just in Kherson. I've seen other parts of the country, you know, really other nice, beautiful parts of the country as well. You know, somewhere you can sometimes relax and stuff as well.
I mean, I guess, what changes did you notice since 2015? For example, attitudes to foreigners.
Oh, foreigners, you're very welcome here. I mean, as soon
Yeah.
as I start talking, I debated whether to do this live in a cafe somewhere with power, but the problem is people would probably approach me and start talking to me because as soon as I start talking,
Yeah.
everybody's very, very friendly, and they want to come and practice their English with me. Some people are offering to buy me coffees, beer.
Yeah.
You know yourself, I've had people, like Anastasia hosted me, my friend Yulia hosted me. People have opened their homes and hearts to me here as a foreigner, and I'm eternally grateful for it, and that also keeps me coming back as well.
My impression was, I mean, I've been 3 times since the start of the full-scale war,
Mm-hmm.
and my impression was that people were very, very grateful that you were there, and they were very grateful that you were offering some kind of support and that you were doing something to kind of help Ukraine,
Mm-hmm.
and that you bothered to come during wartime, I think, and I think
Yeah.
just that's really important for them.
Yeah, I've had a couple of instances with pro-Russian people here, though, if you want to hear about
Yeah, go
it.
on, go on.
Okay, so 99.9%, no problems. But it was one of my first winter distribution in Kherson with Food for Life. It was December 2023. And we went down there to assist Food for Life in Kherson. We take them bread and stuff. We use Nova Posture to send them bread because they don't have the facilities to bake their own bread. It's mostly just soup and vegetables. So we bake bread and get it down there. Pudding as well. So you get a full meal when you go visit our services. I was talking to this woman, Olga, a lovely woman, and this cool guy, Alexander. Olga spoke pretty good English, and this woman came over to me, and she spoke a little bit of English herself. She was like, you speak Ruski? I'm like, oh, Nini, вибачте. Ukrainska, very, very, very small. Anglia, Britannic. She went, nee, you will learn Ruski. I was like, nee, I am foreigner. I will learn Ukrainska. She got really mad at me. And then I probably put my foot in it a little bit because I was like, Slava Ukraini. And then she tried to attack me. It happens. It happens.
It's just one of the remarkable things that still, in the midst of everything that's happening, there are some people who are still, so deeply immersed in that kind of Russian information space and still so attached to those kind of Russian
yeah,
imperial narratives and stuff that even when your country's being bombed, you'll sit there and kind of have empathy or support for the aggressor.
Well, there was a situation in Odessa several months ago. A woman took a Russian flag around the city centre of Odessa, and it was on the Odessa Info Telegram channels. And I'm surprised she didn't get murdered or something, but people were not happy. But I don't know, you've probably seen it yourself. Some Ukrainian activists have been assassinated on this end. Now, Tom, I just saw Tom in the chat, but I'm sure someone can mention his name. I'm sorry, guys. I'm pretty bad
The
with
guy
names.
in Odessa recently, who was killed.
It was in the spring period.
He was a kind of language activist, basically, who was
he was assassinated in the street, and it was right near Food for Life's kitchen, on the main thoroughfare there. Like, you've got the book market, Athena, the city centre, and it was one morning I'm not walking down to go to Food for Life, and I'm sort of glad I wasn't on the street when it happened, because they just shot him dead. So unfortunately, there are those activities, but look, in terms of how people are towards foreigners, fantastic. And again, I would say 99% of the people I meet, pro-Ukrainian.
Yeah. Just to everyone watching, by the way, thanks for joining. And if anyone does have any questions you want Mark or me to talk about, do drop them in the chat. I think one thing that's interesting for me is that you ended up in Odessa, because I guess quite early on, during the sort of early days of the full-scale invasion. Yeah, that was his name,
Tom.
Demi
Thanks.
Ganur. Yeah. it kind of became obvious that what the Russians were trying to do was to kind of shut off the whole
Oh,
coastline.
Chicago. Hmm.
You know, shut
Yeah.
off the whole Black coastline, and so Black Sea coastline. So you've got Mariupol, and then they're trying to take, I don't know, where Melitopol, and then take Kherson. And in a way, I mean, and below Odessa, you've got Transnistria, like occupied bit of Moldova,
Hmm.
and you've kind of Odessa in many ways was kind of like the last city to hold out, and I think had Odessa fallen in some way, Russia could easily have taken control of the whole of the Black Sea coast. Yeah,
Absolutely. Odessa and even Mykolaiv. Mykolaiv is a very important key city as
yeah,
well. Whilst Kherson was under occupation, that was like Mykolaiv was the last frontier in terms of a major city. Great now, Kherson's deoccupied. Obviously, it's very dangerous to go there. With Odessa, I was volunteering in Lviv. Spring 2023, went down to Odessa. I ended up, I was just visiting Odessa for one night, and I met this, I obviously extended my trip and ended up staying. Met this guy, Sergei Panashuk. Sergei, and he's a freelance Ukrainian journalist. He's done articles for like the Sun and the Daily Mail for Ukraine, I believe. And he introduced me to a friend of mine called Abe Collier. Now, Abe's an American volunteer from Utah in the States. He's got his own little organization called Dignity Aid International. So he put me in touch with Abe, and then Abe was the one that took me to Food for Life. So I've done a bit of volunteer work with Abe's organization, but then things really ramped up quickly with Food for Life. And then realizing where I was and the amount of internally displaced people that go through Odessa is massive. I mean, I'm
really,
meeting people. Yeah, I'm meeting people when I'm on the distribution daily from Kherson Oblast, parts of
yeah,
Mykolaiv, even parts of Zaporizhia Oblast. I've even met people as far flung as Donetsk area, and only once I met a woman from Luhansk Oblast.
yeah,
Which you know, Luhansk is like 99% occupied.
yeah,
So we
yeah, yeah,
get a lot of people flooding into the city who are living in hostels. I have a friend, Kate. She runs a charity called Way Home Odessa, and they're known for housing women and children from Kherson who were under occupation as well. So you've got all these beds that are needed, bellies that need feeding, and the thing is, some of these people are coming from nice homes in Kherson, because
yeah,
Kherson, you know, there's some nice houses in Kherson. But the thing is, once the house is blown up, even some people, one woman, you know, she's got a, you know, she's from definitely like middle upper class, I would say. She's got
yeah,
nothing left. I mean,
yeah,
she's probably worked her whole life to pay for a house in Kherson. It's been blown up, and she's had to come to Odessa because the people I meet in Kherson have to make a tough choice. You can live in poverty almost in Odessa, or
yeah.
you can try to be comfortable with the current situation in Kherson, and neither is a good option for people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for people outside of Ukraine who don't know, I mean, Kherson was occupied quite early on during the full-scale invasion,
Yeah,
and it was kind of de-Russified and liberated by the Ukrainian armed forces after what, 3, 4 months, 5 months?
yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
think it was November time,
yeah, okay.
2023. Yeah, it became
And
deoccupied. Yeah.
I know that what then happened was the Russian forces were pushed back over the Dnipro River. But since then,
Mhm.
they've basically just been carrying out this massive kind of shelling attack against Kherson. And over the last sort of couple of years, the kind of relentless drone attacks and hunting farmers in the Kherson region using drones and hunting
Yeah.
civilians using drones and filming all of this and sticking it on Telegram channels so that people can laugh about the fact that they're
A
killing
human
civilians.
safari is a daily. A
Human
human
safari.
safari daily in Kherson. Yeah, I mean, when I'm walking around there, my heart is always in my throat because you just don't know when it's coming. So we're both English. We like a beer. I'm sure. I assume you do. You know, after district, yeah. Well, I was. I'll take you. Back in June, I was there helping my buddy Luke. He had to move 750 boxes of aid around Kherson, so he needed help. He needed someone able-bodied. I was like, "Let's do it. I'll come with you." We went down there, and it was pretty quiet. And we managed to get all 750 boxes of aid distributed, and I was surprised to see it working. The Kherson brewery is still operating. It's been
Wow.
shelled outside, but they're still brewing the beer, still keeping it flowing. So we thought, you've got a pint, Mark? And I was like, actually, I don't usually have a pint when I'm doing the volunteer. He's like, you've worked hard today, just have a couple of beers. I was like, go on then, I'll have one beer just to celebrate a good day. We went and got a pint, and we just stood outside the brewery just having a pint of beer. Shell comes down the street and just explodes, and you just don't know when it's going to happen. And the thing is, when they launch those mortar shells from the left bank of the river, it takes up to 7 seconds for it to hit us in Kherson, and you don't know where it's going to go. It could go
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah. And what's your impression about the people who stay there? What, it's funny to me when I was up in Kharkiv. So, well, I was in Poland this year, right? And a friend of mine,
Mm-hmm.
Andriy, I don't know if he's watching or not. He's based between Lviv and Kharkiv, and he was talking about running summer schools for kids from Kharkiv and taking them up into the Carpathians and then going back to Kharkiv. And one of the Polish guys who was there was like trying to get his head around this and just saying, "Well, why would you go back to Kharkiv under the circumstances?" And he basically sort of said, well, because it's their home, you know.
Yeah,
And I don't know what your experience in Kherson was, but when I was up in Kharkiv, my feeling was very much that people are very, very stubborn and very resilient, and they're very kind of like, if we all leave, the Russians will just take our town and take our city, and that'll
absolutely
be it.
true.
We'll never see it again. So you
Mm-hmm.
kind of stay and deal with whatever they throw at you. And
You do, but again, it comes back to the poverty question. I mean, a lot of people, they're not gonna, look. I don't want to talk badly about Lviv. It's an amazing city, but property prices.
yeah,
Plenty of my friends have told me that Lviv's building. Okay, don't get me wrong. Lviv gets hit hard. When I
yeah,
hear people saying you say it's safe in Lviv, I've been in Lviv for 4 big attacks.
yeah,
The one in the bathroom, the video I sent you, that
yeah,
was in Lviv, and it was the scariest night I've had in Lviv. I had the Shahed flying right over me in Lviv as well. But the thing is, in Lviv, property prices have gone up because everybody's moving to the west.
yeah,
People can't afford it. Like, whereas if they go back to Kharkiv, they can go home. They've got the properties there, or the properties are better prices. Like, people still have to, pay for the normal lives. It's not like they can just have their apartment for free. People have still got to work, and sometimes the option is a hostel bed in Odessa, or your apartment or house in Kherson, for example. And it's when you've worked, look, if you're working hard all your life for your home, you don't want to give it up.
yeah.
I dig my heels in myself, so and with the amount of people I see flooding through Odessa, it doesn't get any easier for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I always say it when I do these lives. Like, I know my grandparents stayed in London right through the Blitz. My dad was evacuated out. He was born in
Hmm.
1930 and got evacuated out. But my grandparents just stayed all the time. And, like that kind of stereotypical kind of
Yeah.
stubborn Brits about, no, fuck them, we'll just stay here. And, if they hit us, they hit
That's
us.
what I always think about the Blitz when I'm over here. That
Yeah,
that British stuff, stiff upper lip mentality. Like when people are going to the metro here in Kiev, I've had to do it myself whilst I've been in Kiev sometimes, or if I'm in Odessa. It's just it reminds me of what it was probably like in the Blitz, because obviously I studied a lot about it during school and stuff myself.
yeah,
So, and I got a lot of it's the internet. I'll put a video up about what's happening, and I'll get negative comments like, "Why don't people just leave?" It's never that simple.
yeah.
Millions of Ukrainians have already gone to other parts of Europe, and I have nothing but respect and take my hats off to the people that stay. Somebody's got to stay.
Yeah,
Somebody's got to stay. Like
yeah,
otherwise, it's true. If everybody left Kharkiv and Kherson tomorrow, the Russians would just roll in and take it.
yeah,
I mean, I don't think the military would leave, obviously, but it's good for military morale as well that there's still people there. It
yeah,
breaks my heart when I see the children in Kherson because some of them, smiling, but some of them, the faces, there's no expression on the face anymore. They've got shell shock. And a lot, and when I saw Angelina Jolie, hats off to her for visiting Kherson as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Some of these kids are living underground most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, just Jerry saying the prices, smaller towns, prices up a little bit less. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're in the centre of Lviv, the prices are going to be well up because supply and demand.
Supply and demand, and that's where you've got all your amenities.
Yeah,
You get out into the country, yeah, it will be cheaper, but you're not, you're gonna, I visit a village, Sosnika. It's right on the border with Poland. I go visit my friend Lynn and her family there sometimes. I've gone there for a bit of a break, or sometimes when I'm on my way back through Poland to fly back to the UK. They have one village shop. The nearest supermarket is in like Stary Samber, and it closes down early. The thing
yeah,
is,
yeah,
people still want to be connected to their amenities, which is why Odessa is great for me for the volunteer work because. I've had when I want to pick supplies up. Sometimes I've just done a fundraiser through my TikTok, for example. I had to take some gas masks down to Kherson back in the spring for military people. I was like,
yeah.
right, guys, I'm in Odessa. I can go pick up a bunch of pretty high grade gas masks from NEPROM, help me get the money together, and I'll bring it from Odessa myself. A few days
Yeah.
later, got it all together and got it taken down there. That's the importance of being in a major city, which unfortunately the Russians want to target.
So I'm interested, Mark, in I know there's a lot of foreigners who are based in Ukraine at the moment doing all kinds of different volunteer work. And I wonder if you could just talk a bit more about the kind of interaction between the foreign groups and Ukrainian civil society and all the different webs. Because I think one of the things that's remarkable about Ukraine
Mm-hmm.
is people don't sit around waiting for the government to sort things out. People just kind of get on and do things that need doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the network's definitely there. I mean, Food for Life, for example, a buddy of mine from Quebec called Derek, he helped us get onto Volunteering Ukraine's website. Maybe you've heard of it,
Yeah.
Volunteering Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good network for volunteers. And in terms of like foreign volunteers interacting with locals, pretty well integrated for the most part. I mean, long-term volunteers such as myself, my buddy Abe. I've also got a buddy Class, known as Dutch Cossack. He's with an organisation, Life Guardians EU. He's got multiple contacts all over the country. He speaks the language pretty well. He's a major part of the netting projects over here right now, netting parts of Kherson. So those
Yeah.
nets you saw Angelina Jolie protected by, he helped supply some of those nets.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I've seen all the main roads in
Mhm.
Kherson kind of covered in the protective netting and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, but I'd say, going out, I mean, a lot of people do speak English, not
yeah,
everybody, but like, say, if I'm in Odessa or Kyiv or Lviv or Kharkiv, if I'm in a major city, I will find somebody that speaks English. And if I
yeah.
don't, I've managed to make friends, with the power of Google Translate and, add each other on Telegram and then just use translation and then try to teach each other a bit of each other's language, I guess. But I'd say foreigners are pretty well integrated into society now, especially again looking at Richard Woodruff, my buddy Tom. You might have True Post Tiger who was in here. Tom's living in Odessa. He's an English maths and science teacher. Richard's living out in Lviv quite a lot. We've got this friend April Huggett. She's a part of the 93rd Alcatraz Battalion, which go
Wow.
to Pokrovsk.
Yeah. Wow.
She's doing amazing work. They're all learning the language better than me, so I'm trying to
I
tell
was
you
going to
maybe I
ask
need
how
to do
your
better with the
Ukrainian's doing
language.
these days.
Pardon?
I was going to ask how your Ukrainian is going these days.
Said dobry. It's all good. Yeah, said dobry, all good. No, oh, you're welcome, bro. I could do better. Maybe I procrastinate with learning new languages. I should do better.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm interested, like, I know you do a lot of stuff on TikTok and Instagram, and you share a
hmm
lot of your experiences. Oh, what is it you take on the fact that most people on Odessa still speak Russian? We'll come back to that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
we'll
for the
come back to
question.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Um,
can talk about that as well. Yeah.
so, what was I going to say? I started asking something and I've completely forgotten it. 1 second.
Sorry.
Brain.
Do you want me to
Oh
talk
yes,
about the
no. I
Odessa
was
thing
going to
really
say
quick?
you do a lot of work on TikTok and Instagram and stuff, right?
hmm
And I was wondering how much kickback you attract from pro-Russians or from Russian trolls, or how you deal with all of that. Because I know it's I've managed to kind of eradicate it now over the years. But when I first started doing all this kind of stuff, I was
hmm
just getting like brigaded by hundreds of Russian trolls and bots and
Hmm.
English teachers that I once met when I used to go to Russia and all
Hmm.
kinds of craziness. And I wonder what your experience of that was.
I've been very lucky compared to a lot of people on the internet. I do get trolls, especially with my viral videos.
Yeah,
I I've got a friend Julia. She's from Irpin and Bucha
yeah,
area.
yeah,
I believe she's in Bulgaria right now. She got really big on TikTok, like massive. And the Russian bots attacked her TikTok and brought her first profile down.
yeah.
I should probably think about making a backup account on TikTok at least because it does happen. But me personally, the way my content is, I've had some negativity, but at the same time, I've been luckier than most. I'm not getting trolled nearly as much as other Ukrainian community TikTokers and people on
Yeah.
Instagram might be. I don't know why, but I've managed to avoid some heavy trolling on my end, if truth be told. I'm not seeing as many trolling comments as I see on other people's videos who are in the Ukrainian TikTok community.
I think a lot of people outside of Ukraine, I mean, again, I think it's one way Ukraine is really ahead of the rest of Europe at the moment, apart from
Hmm.
maybe the Baltics and Finland and places. It's just understanding the way that the Russian information space works and the way the
Hmm.
Russian trolls work. Yeah, we'll
Hmm.
come to that one. Because, I mean, I notice it all the time on social media in the UK. Loads of sock puppets accounts, loads of trolls. It's almost like
Yeah,
any
yeah.
news story about anything political, you get all these anonymous accounts who don't
But I'm sure
quite
as it gets
speak
bigger, it's going
English.
to happen. Yeah, I'm closing in on 10,000 followers now on TikTok. I'm about
Yeah,
1,500 away. It's going to happen at some point.
yeah.
And I've
You
just,
trigger some algorithm that they've got somewhere and they start setting people on you, you know?
yeah, yeah.
And I think just people don't realise how clever Russia is with its social media stuff as well. I mean, I was just
Hmm.
watching this morning all the stuff about the deep fake IA videos, about the mobilised 23-year-olds, you know, and it's really difficult to counter in a lot of ways because once all that stuff's out in the information space, the people who see it already kind of like either they believe it or they're not sure if it's true and they start to doubt what's true and what's not true, which is exactly what they want you to do. You know, they want you to
Yeah,
kind of go, oh, it's so hard to know what's really happening. Who can
yeah.
know?
And the thing
And
is, they've got pages like mine you can come and see the truth on. Countless pages, not even just mine. Other volunteers, other people, not everyday, just Ukrainians who are going about the business. There's so many accounts online that they can go and see the real information from. Big one for me is like news outlets like United 24, Kyiv
yeah,
Independent. They're showing, United 24 has used a couple of my videos from Odesa, and it's factual, it's the truth, it's not fake news, it's real.
yeah,
I don't know how people can jump on the band like this negative bandwagon of saying it's not really happening. I've had quite a few comments saying, "Where's the war?" If I'm just in Lviv or even just on a day out somewhere in Odessa or Kyiv or something, they'd be like, "Oh, where's the war?" I'd be like, "Did you study anything about World War II in school? What did Londoners do? Stiff upper lip and we got about our business,
yeah,
We carried on going to work, carried on baking the bread, just carried on as best we could."
yeah, yeah, yeah. The other thing I was going to ask you before we go on to the language question that came up, um,
Hmm.
how do you? I mean, your folks are still back in England, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mum's from Manchester, dad's from Bradford. Bradford City
Okay.
fan, by the way.
Yeah, it's a tough gig.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, on the plus side, you don't support one of the dirty Manchester teams, so you know.
Oh
Um,
no, no! I've been the amount of trouble I had with Manchester United and Man City fans growing up. I do like a bit of United now and again though. I like there's a pub in Lviv called Cantonar, the United pub. I like it in there for United though. Like,
obviously, you know, for religious reasons, I can't go to places like that. Um, yeah, I was just wondering, like, how do you explain what you're doing to them? I mean, I know that when I've been over to Ukraine and having to talk to my wife and kids about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and it's not an easy conversation to have. And I'm sure, you know, they must be worried about you, and you must have friends who are wondering what the hell you're doing there. And how do you explain it to them? How do you rationalise it with them?
I rationalise that Europe's there's war in Europe and we're on the verge of World War III. Like, it's easy to live your life in places like Britain and Ireland, etc., and forget what's happening in the world. Um, people are like, oh, did you care this much when what was happening in other places in the world? I'd be like, well, some people have said, well, what about the other wars in the world? I thought, well, this one in Europe is hit closer to home, and it is closer to home. It's on our doorstep now. My mum worries all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. She supports what I'm doing. She understands. My dad, he doesn't. I don't know. I'll tell you a story. He's not going to be watching this. I sort of keep my dad at arm's length a little bit, to be honest with you. Still see him go for a pint, go watch the football when I'm back in the UK. But one thing he said to me last time I was in Britain, it was back in January, and I was on a short visit back to the UK because I've been back now since February.
Okay.
And I want to get. We'll definitely grab a pint when I come back. I want to get back for Christmas, to be honest. But I've got a few things to sort out on this end first. Winter is coming, but he sat me down. His stance on it was like, you know what, Mark? I won't swear on here. I don't give a about Ukraine. And I thought to myself, you didn't really need to say that, did you? Did you? Like, I just left him to it. So he seems to not really care so much. He doesn't really get it. He's living in his bubble, which is fine, he's just living the mundane, doing what, living his life, which is, these are the freedoms that people fight for, especially here in Ukraine, the shield of Europe. Yeah. My mum's is more empathetic and understanding of what's going on over here. Bless her, she's opened a heart up now to two of my friends from Ukraine on the Homes for Ukraine scheme. Like, she's literally opened up our home to people, so she gets it a lot more. My friends, I've lost a couple of friends doing the volunteer work.
Why?
Childhood friend, back in. So I'm originally, I'm from Manchester, but I'm from Cheadle in Stockport, if you know it, like South Manchester. Yeah. Technically a Cheshire boy on the old county lines, Yeah. I technically shouldn't even say I'm from Manchester, should I? But, well, I won't say his name. I won't denigrate his name on here, but he started putting a lot of stuff out on social media. He was always supportive of me coming to Ukraine, like, to my face, talking to me. But I was doing a TikTok live one day, and he left a comment saying, F Ukraine, we don't care about Ukraine, middle finger, British flag. And I went, Joe, it's my live. I don't think he realized it was my live, but it showed it showed the true colors of this person, with some of his ideology and thinking. I would.
So is he coming more from a kind of like a kind of further right kind of Britain isolationist kind
Reform UK agenda sort of thing, which oh my gosh, I don't want to get into our politics right now. I'm worried about the next election anyway, but
4 years is a long time.
Yeah, a lot.
The way I'm looking at it at the moment.
Yeah, but he'll believe, it's the sort of ideology and thinking behind someone that will listen to the bots and stuff online and the propaganda. I mean, Russia, RT, Russia Today, it's been banned in the UK now since the full-scale invasion, but it was operating on Freeview television and everything. And this is such a powerful propaganda tool. Yes, they're delivering real-world news, and they were doing it at a time, because even I watched RT growing up, along with BBC and Sky News. And the thing is, I remember watching RT thinking, then looking at BBC and Sky News putting out celebrity headlines, and I thought, which one's the real news here? But I quickly realised with the op-ed pieces, the opinion editions of RT, that they're drip feeding their viewers Russian propaganda. So when you've got tools like that operating, I'm not surprised that people.
Well, and they platformed Farage massively. I mean, Farage basically
he had a TV show on RT as well.
He did. It was huge on Russia Today, and that's how he kind of broke through. And there's still a lot of unanswered questions about his Kremlin links.
This is a big
funny because I mean, I know that what Russia's been very good at is kind of targeting both the far right and the far left in the UK. And
Hmm.
I've had friends I've lost who I would say were very much on the left, but they've ended up kind of absorbing a slightly different kind of version of it, which is NATO started this war. There was an American coup in Kyiv in 2014. You know, what are the Russians supposed to do? They're just protecting their interests. They're looking after the ethnic Russians in Ukraine. And it's weird that you get, well, it's not weird, it's clever. It's what they
Yeah.
do. You know, they
This will
target
lead
the
us
far left
perfectly
and
into
the
the
far
language
right
as
in every
well.
country in
Hmm.
Europe.
Yeah, you know, if I'm interrupting, just tell me to be quiet. By the way, I
No, no,
have a
no, go
habit
on.
of doing
I'm
that.
the same, mate. So,
Let's just quickly go into this. You know, someone mentioned about people in Odessa speaking Russian.
yeah,
Let's look at history. We're both British.
yeah,
I'm also quarter Irish myself.
okay,
Got some, granddad was born in Cork. And when you look at, let's look at the island of Ireland. They predominantly speak English, and it's down to history.
yeah,
However you look at it,
yeah,
when you look at Ukraine, yes, part of Ukraine is predominantly or was predominantly Russian speaking. But the thing is, Ukrainians are making a change now to change that. I've got friends from Kharkiv
yeah,
who it took them 2 weeks to start learning how to speak Ukrainian. They knew Ukrainian because it's the
yeah.
official state language. It's the main language. They're surrounded by it all their lives. But for someone that's speaking Russian, to me, it doesn't make them pro-Russian.
Yeah.
They've been forced a language over history, just like you argue the Irish would have been during British colonial times. I mean, it's not like that in the modern day. I know some of my Irish friends, they like to make jokes and stuff, but, they don't want to let us forget, but,
Fair play, you know.
fair play, fair play. I drink on both sides of the peace wall in Belfast when I'm there. And the thing is, you look at Ireland. People predominantly speak English in Ireland. Yes, they have some Irish Gaelic speaking villages, but everybody speaks English. That doesn't make them any more pro-British over being pro-Irish.
Very rare to find a pro-English Irish person who speaks English,
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
experience. You know, they've got long, deep memories of what the English have done to them.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And I mean, I respect and appreciate people who are making the change.
yeah,
Yes, I've heard a lot of youth in Odessa who aren't making the change to Ukrainian. Um, as a foreigner, I just keep my mouth shut because I feel like it's not for me to be like, "Brr, brr, 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 brr," like giving them a lecture on what language to speak. Like, I'm still a foreigner in that regard. Like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to use Ukrainian words, I'm going to do Djakuyu, not Spasiba in Russian. I'll say
yeah,
Dulza Djakuyu, for
yeah,
example.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I meet a lot of people in Odessa that speak Ukrainian. However, I want to tell you a story also about language, guys. Abe goes to every weekend. He goes to the psychiatric hospital in Odessa to take fruits and pastries. The conditions there aren't great, and he gives them a nice slice of happiness each weekend. I met a couple of babutsias. Babutsia is grandma in Ukrainian. Babushka would be in the Russian language, but I met a couple of babutsias, couple of elderly grandmas who with dementia, and the staff were telling me that they're trying to learn Ukrainian.
Jesus.
These two elderly women with dementia. However, a bulk of your elderly people are going to speak Russian, and yes,
Yeah.
people do speak Russian in Odessa. That to me doesn't make them pro-Russian. It's just I don't know. I don't know. Maybe other people know more about it than me, but it's just
I
it's
think
just
it's also it takes time for a country to shift its language policy, you know,
Mhm.
and I think you're looking at a kind of extra generational shift. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's happening all across the kind of post-Sovblock world where,
Oh yeah.
you know, when I was in Moldova early this year, sometime early this year, they're having similar sort of issues where, you know, that they've renamed the national language Romanian because Moldovan was a kind of Soviet construct.
Uh,
There's a lot less tolerance of Russian-speaking Moldovans. You know, people are like, either you speak English or you speak Romanian with me, mate. I can't be doing with it. But of
yeah.
course, there's still Russian-speaking Moldovans, and it takes time to switch, and I think it takes time.
It does. It
Things
does.
take time.
Yeah,
You
don't get me
know,
wrong though. There are still people who, who will just staunchly not do it for whatever reason. Tom's given us a history lesson there. Tom's got a lot of knowledge, by the way, especially when it comes to Odessa. One thing I love about Tom, I'm just going to give him a shout out here. He's very good with the language spelling of Odessa, because a lot of people do frequently spell it with the two S's, and that's the English
it's
translation from the Russian language. It's one S from the
it's
Ukrainian
it's
language.
it's funny you say it, because there's a kind of older English language teaching guy at the moment called Jeremy Harmer,
Hmm.
and he's in Kiev at the moment, and people kind of keep writing comments, kind of going, "Stay safe in Kiev, Jeremy," and they often spell it with the Russian spelling, and I have to like bite my bloody fingers not to kind of write KYIV under everything. It's just like,
Oh yeah, yeah. I
just
mean,
leave it be.
yeah, I did have one foreigner. Again, I'm not going to say names when I'm talking about someone in a certain light. If it's not positive, they'll remain nameless. But he's an American guy. I only met him a couple of times. And he's foreigner like me. I was having a drink with him in Odessa one night, and he kept saying Kiev, and I went Kiev, and he kept going Kiev, and I didn't talk to him after that. I thought, why is he saying Kiev? It's Kiev. It's not Kiev. It's Kiev. Like, what I want to do when I get back. Little side note: I want to contact Iceland and tell them to change the name of the packaging from Chicken Kiev to Chicken Kiev on their
Do you know
packaging.
what? I think they've actually already done it, mate.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, let me check, because I do remember reading this recently.
Not that
I,
I'll
I
be
will
rushing
check.
back to Iceland when I get back.
I will check, because I do remember seeing an Instagram post about them changing it. So I'm not sure if it was Iceland. Maybe it was Marks and Spencers or something. But I'll have a
Hmm.
check. Yeah.
Nice, thank you.
And am I right, Mark, in thinking you also do some language teaching? Is that right?
I do a little bit, yeah. Tom, who's in this chat here, True Post Tiger, he helped me get a bit of a language gig with a school called Study Less. Didn't really pan out with them though. They wanted me on a full time schedule. It was not. I can't do full time work with the volunteer work. I'm not here to do a full time job right now. I'm here to do volunteer work and advocacy work.
Yeah.
So they wanted to increase the hours, etc. So we parted ways mutually, but I did some language teaching through them. Nowadays, I'm just I do the odd one-to-one session with people online or in person. The way I sort of approach that is, it's like I'm not technically an English teacher, but as a native speaker, you're in a good position to
You can
help people.
bullshit your way through.
Yeah. My setup would be, I'll do like if it's online presentation. It's like, for me, it's a speaking club. Instead of a lesson, I'll propose it as a speaking club to help boost vocabulary and confidence with speaking with native speakers such as myself. So 5 words for pre-teaching vocabulary based on the topic of discussion, some phrases and idioms based on the topic of discussion, fun little general discussion topic about whatever the topic of discussion is, and some role playing. And the students I have, they come, they go. It's a bit sporadic sometimes, but it's kept me going by whilst I've been over here sometimes anyway.
Yeah. It's interesting you were saying earlier, because I mean, I think I first came to Ukraine in maybe 2008, 2009. And I think back then,
Hmm.
compared to now, I mean, the level of English is just like different league.
Oh yeah.
When you're in any of the big cities in Ukraine now, the level of English is really much better than it used to be.
Oh
And
yeah,
the
absolutely.
level of the younger generation of teachers is their language competence is much better than it used to be.
Hmm. Oh
So
yeah, I mean, I don't struggle really that much using English, and if I don't, I mean, I can do some small communication in Ukrainian, very small. And if I'm ordering some food or something, sometimes get a shawarma one night. I'll just point at stuff I want or don't want. I get along just fine myself. But no, the Ukrainian teachers that I've met here, English teachers. There's a girl here in Kyiv that I know called Alina. I think she might be watching now. Fantastic English teacher. I met her at a summer camp in the summer in Uramchi in the mountains. It's called Boyar Camp. They've got a school called Boyar School in Lviv. I met
okay,
her there. meet so many fantastic teachers. You know, I've actually I've started a bit of a speaking club in Kyiv, which has just been sporadic because I'm not always here. And she's helped me out with a speaking club one time. And honestly, the teacher, and again, Anastasia, who you know, another fantastic English teacher. Just honestly, the ability of the teachers here is incredible, and I want to say thank you to you too for what you've done, coming over, doing your conference and stuff in Kyiv. It's really good to see people like yourself coming over here, because a lot of people don't come, and I think that's a shame. So, hats off to you for coming over.
It just felt like the logical act of solidarity that you have to kind of display. You know, it's like just putting some of your words into action, and you know, kind of. So I guess just to sort of wrap up, Mark, like for people outside of Ukraine, people in Europe watching this, or people in other parts of the world who might be watching this, and yes, there was a comment from someone in Zaporizhia or Dnipro. I will be recording it. I will be leaving it on the page.
Yeah, apologies if I've missed any comments, by the way.
Yeah, I think that was the only one. What would you tell people outside of Ukraine about the importance of what's happening? Because it seems to me you're very clear, and you have a very clear-eyed understanding of the fact that it's basically, you know, the fate of Ukraine determines whether or not we end up in a kind of World War III situation.
Yeah.
And what would you tell people? Why should they care about what's happening in Ukraine?
To those who don't care, to those people that don't care, I would say change your attitude, simply because what Ukraine is doing right now is preventing war on your doorstep or inside your own home. Russia are known for always flying jets off the coast of Shetland, where our RAF has to intercept them.
Yeah.
I said this to a Scottish guy who gave me a negative comment on TikTok, and I went, where do you think Putin's going to land first?
Yeah.
He's going to land probably on the Shetland Islands, given half the chance, you know?
Yeah.
In general, I would say to everyone, stand with Ukraine, stand by Ukraine, because what Ukraine is doing right now is giving us all the ability throughout other parts of Europe to sleep nice and safely and cozily in our beds at night. Ukraine is the shield of Europe. Like, people say, Russia can't take Ukraine on the front line, and it's very slow progress. Ukraine, isn't falling right now. That can change. But the thing is, the Russians are ramping things up. I would say to everyone, look at what's happening. Look at what happened in Denmark. Look at what happened in Germany. Look at what happened in Poland. Look at the
size of the attacks as well. I mean, I think even a year ago, it was unusual to see kind of like 600-700 drones a night being sent over, and now that's standard, you know. So
some nights where I am, I'm in a high rise, 7th floor. Won't give the details of the location in case you send shares my way. But I can hear the drones some nights, and some nights you get so tired and you just fall back to sleep without realizing it. And some nights I've heard the drones outside. I've heard it myself. You don't want that for your women, for women, men, and children in other parts of the world. The Ukrainians are dealing with it, and we need to help them. We need to do more. Our governments, our people, like, if we armed Ukraine to the teeth at the beginning of this, we wouldn't be in this position now. To be honest, if our governments would have upheld the Budapest Memorandum in 2014 after the annexation of Crimea and the Donbass area, we wouldn't be in this position. None of us really understood it in 2014. I know I wasn't paying much attention to it, I'm not going to lie, but being here now since the full-scale invasion, being on the ground, doing the work, seeing the suffering, I can tell you now, it could happen. If World War III happens, we're all affected. People in Britain can be like, oh, we're on an island, we're far away from it. In a world war, you're not protected on an island.
I think people also don't understand that it's not just Russia acting alone. It's Russia acting with the help of China, with the help of North Korea, with the help of Iran. Piece of advice.
Yeah.
Don't commend people on how good their Ukrainian is. It's not taken as a compliment. Hey, Ksenia. I hear you. And it's a very wise comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I think people don't understand that it's a series of interconnected autocracies and dictatorships that are
mhm.
seeing how far they can push things,
Oh
and
yeah.
they're seeing how far they can exploit the weakness of the West. And I think that they're looking at Ukraine and thinking, well, if the West isn't going to stand by what it says it believes in and protect Ukraine,
Mhm.
well, we might as well take Taiwan because they're not going to protect that either. Who's going to give a shit if we roll into Estonia? They're not going to worry about that
Exactly.
either. And I think there's that sort of domino effect that could very quickly kick in.
Yeah.
And,
You know,
we're not
Hugh.
doing enough to counter it.
Yeah, you know, Hugh. I've met a guy from Iran. I've
Yeah,
met quite a few people from Taiwan and China.
yeah,
Um, I've met one Russian person, and you know what? They're all doing the work to help Ukraine. They're
yeah,
all here. They're all
yeah.
participating
Because
actively.
they understand the impact for their own countries.
Exactly. And the
Yeah,
thing is, this is another message to people across Europe now, Britain, Ireland, all of Schengen, etc. There's people from these countries helping because they know what it's like to come from a regime of autocracy and dictatorship. We get too comfortable
yeah,
in our democratic bubbles,
yeah,
it can quickly change. And the thing is, people in the UK, when I go back, people are moaning about the prices in the supermarket. The price of wheat has gone so high because
yeah,
Ukraine, I believe, is the third biggest world's exporter of wheat. Everything's going up in price. People
yeah.
want to blame the government back in the UK for inflation. Look,
It's
we're
out
not
of
going
our
to get off
control
of
at the moment.
inflation
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now. Mhm.
yeah. No, I mean, I think thinking about your dad and that kind of, who cares what happens over there kind of attitude that I know a lot of people have here. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the answer to that is, well, what do you think happens to prices in our country if Ukraine falls? Okay. And if Russia takes over the breadbasket of Europe and it takes over the military industrial complex of Ukraine and it controls the Black Sea and it controls all that export market, do you think things suddenly get cheaper for us? It's like, even if you're only looking at it from a completely self-interested point of view and you somehow don't care about kids being blown up in their apartment blocks or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
just on a self-interested viewpoint, nothing's going to get better for anyone outside of Ukraine.
No.
There'll be a
Mm-hmm.
huge flood of refugees. There'll be another 15, 20 million people leaving Ukraine. The people who stay in Ukraine will feel betrayed and embittered, and they'll get mobilized by the Russians. And it's not going to end just because you stop supporting Ukraine. I think is
I agree.
been obvious
100%.
to me for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Mark,
Yeah.
I feel like I've taken enough of your time, mate.
Yeah, no worries. I had so many stories to tell you, but another time.
Go on,
I
do
can
you
tell
want to
you
do a
so
couple
many
more
more.
stories before we finish?
Well, people sometimes ask me, what's the scariest situation I've had here?
Go on.
Difficult. It's difficult. Kherson, Lviv was very scary during the big attacks there. Here in Kyiv with the Shaheeds out the window. I think one of the scariest moments being over here was actually when I was in Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. I was helping an ex-American military guy build anti-drone systems. I'm pretty techy myself, but only to a certain degree. So I was just helping him put signal generators onto metal heat sinks, and we were cutting the metal in a warehouse. Again, won't talk about location. And I went outside and I heard something in the sky, and it's the first time I've seen a glide bomb, and
Yeah.
it was just gliding to our position, and I thought it was coming through us. It actually went over us, and the explosion that rocked out was one of the scariest moments of my life. Like, I just froze. We jumped in the van, drove around the corner where it was, and just started, trying to give people first aid if we could. I've had a lot of scary situations over here, but you know what? I've also had a lot of happy moments with the people of Ukraine. And I just want to say to the people in Ukraine and the Ukrainians who are watching, дуже дякую for your service. Slava Ukraini.
Herom Slava. Mark, thank you so much, mate. And
Yeah.
I hope
One
that.
more thing before you go,
Yeah,
Hugh.
go on, go on, go on.
Right.
You're
I'm going
worse
to
than me,
pass
you
it
are.
right down. I've got Ukrainian Jaffa cakes by the. They call them jelly cookies here, but they're actually Jaffa cakes. Let me show you one before you come off. And that's the thing. I feel a bit homesick sometimes, but I can still get a Jaffa cake.
Enjoy.
Дуже смачно.
So, thank you for everything, Duże Dziękuję, and do pobaczenia, and I hope that we get to see each other in person, like either
We'll
here
have
or next
as
time I'm
soon as
over
I'm back
there.
in the UK, you'll be the first to know. I'll message you and we'll have a nice frosty pint in London.
That
If
sounds
you're
really
in
great,
London,
mate.
that is. Yeah.
And Mark, thank you so much for everything you're doing for Ukraine, and
Good luck.
you're a brave and a great person for what you're doing.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Hugh. And thank
All
you
right,
too
mate.
for having me on the live. It's greatly appreciated, mate.
All right. All right. You take care of yourself. Yeah.
You too, buddy.
All right.
Hear from a dark Kiev. Дуже дякую. До побачення for now.
Okay. Papa.
Papa.